Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemess Tom, and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today's video is the Aftersass, and the Aftersass is the direct response to my new makeup release video called Critical Sass. So if you haven't watched that, you can go ahead and watch that now. I discuss new makeup releases. I kind of talk us all out of all of them, or many of them. I like to celebrate what's good, but I feel like in this episode in particular, was pretty bad. And what I do in this video is I reflect on the things that I talked about and maybe some things that I didn't talk about, and I put on a full face of makeup inspired by some of those new releases to remind myself and to remind you that maybe we already have something in our makeup collection that can scratch the itch of some of those releases that we may have been excited about. Something I want to start with, just to make sure, just to double check, just to do some science, is I want to put on the YSL Candy Glaze, and I'm going to put on the shade 14, kind of as a prep step. If my throat gets scratchy, then I'm just going to get rid of all of these. Some of you shared some pretty enlightening things, and I'm not here to like fearmonger, but some people said some of the things that they have sensitivities to, and they were like, maybe this is what it is. And mango oil was like the thing that came up. This won't be the final lip. I just wanted to put that on because we talked about the Love Slick lip oils from YSL, and I said I wouldn't buy them because the candy glaze had been making my throat itchy. I'll keep you posted on that as the video goes on. If it gets bad, I'll just wipe it off. I'll let you know. I didn't talk about any new primers in Critical Sass. I'm currently trying to pan this Bobbi Brown Vitamin Enriched Face Base, so I'm just going to use this real quick. I talked about two different foundations in Critical Sass. I talked about the new Gucci Beauté de Cushion foundation, and I also talked about the new Urban Decay foundation. It's like a matte foundation that comes in a dropper. Both of those are not super interesting to me. I might be getting the Urban Decay one in PR. Again, I'm not really sure if they are going to send it to me, but they did ask if I would like to be included in their next release, and I think that's what this was, and I picked a foundation shade. I have a couple of soft matte foundations, and I chose to go with the Prada foundation. Now, I did a deep dive review on this Prada foundation if you want to watch that. The long and short of it is I think it's an okay foundation. I think for $70, I want something a little bit more than this, and I don't find the component particularly enticing for it to be a luxury product. It does look good on my skin. It wears pretty well. So it's like, I have like not many complaints about it either. It's just like not my favorite foundation. And I have a feeling that if I tried the Urban Decay foundation, it would feel very similar. I thought about using the Terracotta Le Tint from Guerlain for this, but I think that this is going to be a little bit closer to what Urban Decay has in mind, unless Urban Decay takes a much bigger swing than I think they are. Something about it being in the dropper leads me to believe that it's not going to be as matte as like it might be proclaiming, like, because everything's a soft matte now. So I'm just gonna quickly apply this and we'll touch base. So the Prada foundation is applied. Looks really good. I've never applied it with that brush, but I figured it would be a good test because I think that this would probably be more of the coverage of that Urban Decay one. The Urban Decay one was promising medium coverage. I feel like this is medium coverage. I feel like sometimes when I apply it, the product with a denser brush, it gets me a little more coverage. The thing is, if it's going to come in a squeezy tube, I did think about also using the Glossier as like in lieu of, but I just don't think it's going to be like the Glossier like at all. Like the way it was described didn't leave me, because it's like not a skin tint, it's a foundation. They're describing it as a foundation. Glossier skin tint is absolutely a skin tint. It doesn't do more than that. Let's talk about concealer. So I actually didn't talk about any concealers in Critical Sass, but there are two, I would say, notable concealers that I think are being discussed right now. One of them being Saie's new concealer, which I don't know, Saie is so boring to me, I don't even feel inclined to talk about it. And then also Salt New York is releasing their new concealer in a pan. Another brand that I'm not super interested in. I tried some Salt New York stuff, and I think hearing everyone talk about Salt New York before I tried it really led to its downfall in my mind, because I really thought it was going to be something special, and I just was pretty much whelmed by everything I tried from Salt New York. I don't think it's bad. I think Salt New York is just for a very specific person, and I'm not that person. I don't like full coverage foundations, so don't come into my comment section trying to tell me what my preferences are. It's just Salt New York just didn't do what I wanted it to do, and that's totally okay, but it does a lot for a lot of other people. I always talk about this concealer. There's like nothing of note here, but this is the Surratt Dewdrop Concealer. I did receive this in PR, but it does continue to be my favorite concealer. So I'm just gonna apply a little bit under the eyes. The thing I like about the Dewdrop foundation is that it's such a thin formula with such intense pigmentation that it just blends out really well underneath my eyes. And because the formula is thinner, I feel like it plays much better with texture on the eyes. I have a fold underneath both eyes that always kind of catches concealer. It's like a little cutter for concealer to get caught in. And I've come to terms with like a lot of concealers just gonna get stuck in there. This one is pretty good for the most part, but it does get stuck in there after a point. Like I haven't found a perfect concealer that doesn't get caught in there, but I think that this is the least noticeable formula in there, and I think it's because it's just so thin. At the very end of Critical Sass, I discussed how Stila is releasing these, which are just liquid illuminators. I have the Auric Glow Lust in Morganite, and this is my favorite thing. It's like one of my favorite things, and I use it much less than I did at one point, but it still maintains as one of my favorite things. For the base of my cheek, I'm just gonna kind of apply it as like a primer kind of all over, and it will still be the highlighter, but it's also gonna make everything I put on top of it just a little more glowy. We are doing a more cool toned look today, but I think in the summertime, just like a sheen on the cheek is just, it's the time for it. I know that, you know, you can do whatever you want all the time, but I just feel like a nice, juicy cheek is really, really what summertime calls for. And I know we're heading into spring, but I just feel like I'm feeling inspired by that. I'm gonna put Glow Lust out on a palette, and I'm gonna take this BK 109 brush, and I'm just gonna press it in kind of all over the upper part of my cheek. And I like my highlight to go up and into my brow bone as well. So I'm also applying it there. Now, I did praise the Stila product in that video for just kind of like existing. Like, it doesn't look like any of Charlotte Tilbury's products. And I feel the same way about Glow Lust. But like, Glow Lust was very clearly inspired by the Hollywood Flawless Filter. This product is made by Samantha Ravindal. When Samantha was more of like a makeup person on the internet, meaning as far as like making content like I do, that's giving me a lot of credit. But she really loved the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This feels like something that she created to be more in line with what her needs were, but like a similar product. What I like about the Auric Glow Lust is that it does have a nice bit of coverage. And often the tops of my cheeks get pretty rosy, especially if I like go awry with my actives, which was really happening quite a bit this winter. Being able to use this and get coverage, but still be able to have a glow was really, really nice. Samantha suffers from severe acne, and this works really well on her skin, and that's why she designed it the way it did. It makes a lot of sense whenever you like know all of the things about it. But so we have a little more coverage on those cheeks, although my redness has been really good recently. I've been under control. Check in on the lip gloss. This isn't bothering my throat. It was the clear one, so maybe it was specifically the clear one, and I can't imagine why that would be. But like, my throat seems fine. I can't explain that one to you folks. I'm just reporting the news. I talked about a couple of blushes in Critical Sass. We kind of got a sneak peek that Rhode is releasing a new blush. And also I talked about the shade expansion of e.l.f.'s primer infused blushes. I kind of am taking celebrities. I don't have any stick blushes. I have one of the Charlotte Tilbury blushes that are in a wand. I have some liquid blushes from Rhode that are in a wand, but they're liquids as well, but it's like a more of a solid thing. So I didn't have anything to dupe like the nude sticky looking nature of the Rhode ones. And I wasn't feeling particularly inspired by any of my powder ones. What I did again is I'm just going to use the blush that is kind of the thing that I'm focusing on panning this year. So this is the Inner Glow blush from Kjaer Weis. I figured since these brands are releasing new blushes, I'm just showing love to one of my older blushes in my collection. It's not even my oldest blush, but Kjaer Weis, they consider themselves to be clean beauty. And I just know that I've seen other people have their blushes go off from Kjaer Weis. So I'm just trying to use it up. And I think using something that I have is just a little more beneficial when it comes to a cream product. Now, I'm kind of doing this in direct response to the Rhode one. Rhode has been a little bit hit or miss for me as far as their products go. I've been very impressed with some of their things, and I've been not so impressed with some of their other stuff. So it's a real crapshoot for me whether or not I think that the Rhode one would be even worth it. I love this blush. I really do. And I've been really enjoying focusing on it. Like, I just love that. Is it blush or like what is that's just like a slight flush? And I really enjoy this formula. I'm not a project panner by any means, but it is really nice to appreciate your makeup enough that you are seeing progress on it. It means a couple of things, right? It means that you're actually using it. Like you are actually using it, like you're using up some of your makeup. And it also means that you like that thing. And some people feel some kind of way about using up expensive makeup, and I understand that. My whole thing is like makeup is designed to be used, and while I'm not perfect about getting to everything in my makeup collection, I'm not trying to like shame anyone. There is something really satisfying about seeing progress in a lot of my makeup, and it's kind of happening over many categories. Past couple of years, I've been really focusing on loving my makeup collection as it is, especially in my free time. On camera now, I'm doing some more testing. It is just kind of the nature of the work. I will say it's just been very gratifying to see some of my makeup used up. Like, I just never thought I would see the bottom of a blush. Like, I never even thought I would see that much pan, let alone go on a journey where I'm like, I'm fairly certain I could use this whole thing up by the end of the year. We'll see. I mean, I'm trying. That's a little more satisfying to me. And also, I was thinking about doing a video shortly about like summer warm tone makeup, which isn't always my gig, but like I always get inspired in the springtime to play with both color, but like also kind of explore the bronze goddess a little bit, like a little curiosity there. I have some warm tone blushes that are beautiful that I so rarely use. So I'm looking forward to showing them some love, specifically Ray from Chantecaille. I just want to bust that out again. I'm going to contour my face and then we'll come back and talk about powder. I feel like I'm about to hit pan at any second. There's facial hair stuck in here, but it's my product. It's for me. So don't be too grossed out, but I have an incredibly deep dip going in there and I'm very excited about it. I basically trashed Laura Mercier and I was like, I can't believe you're releasing another powder. What their launches have been pretty confusing, but I really love my powders and I have 3 powders. So their powder is like talc free, which is not really an alluring selling point to me, but the word blur is in it. And we're gonna blur this face with a couple of different powders. So under the eye, this is my usual powder routine. The Chantecaille under eye brightening powder. To set the rest of my face, the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter Airbrush, whatever. The regular powder from Charlotte Tilbury. Again, another product that I'm getting good use out of. Now, you probably will be like, okay, but that's a mini. Yeah, minis also take me some work to finish because it's like, it's just the way I use makeup. Although I will say I've been more generous with powder recently. Not because I'm like sweating more, which would be another good reason. I know I'm so close to finishing it. I'm trying to rush it along. That's one thing about using up products. And I have found this also in skincare. If I'm getting close to the end of a primer, like anything where I could use a surplus of it and it won't really affect anything, I will then really start using a surplus. But to finish off my ultimate blur, I'm going to use the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Finishing Powder. Again, another product that has the proof is in the pudding that I like it and also that I'm using it up and I love that. It makes me feel so good. This is another product I'm trying to finish up by the end of the year. The thing is, I've been like testing a lot of complexion and I try to avoid using the blur powder when I'm testing complexion because I want to see what the finish of that product is on its own. I talked about 2 bronzer ranges and both of them were drugstore. So I talked about the shade extension of the primer infused bronzers from e.l.f. in conjunction with the blushes. And then I also talked about the NYX Butter Melt Bronzers that looked really rosy. And I even in that video referenced my beloved Gucci bronzer, which is a beautiful rosy bronzer. And this is the shade Fair. You know, I can't speak for all the shades, but I can speak for shade Fair. It's a beautiful rosy bronzer. The only thing that I would say is like, this has a real leg up on NYX as far as packaging goes. You know, I like it to be a certain experience. And while I don't think the Gucci is like the peak of experience in luxury because it is a plastic container, I do still like interacting with it. I still find it really beautiful and just perfect for my skin tone. I don't even need a $10 bronzer. You know, like, and I don't need e.l.f.'s bronzer to buy to take up space and distract me from a bronzer that serves a similar purpose to what those two would serve in my makeup collection. So I talked about a couple of eyeshadow palettes. We're going to hone into like one category. So what I really am going to focus in on is the Hyper Glam palette from Natasha Denona. And I'm also going to focus in on the Mario Neutrals palette. So those are the 2 concepts we're coming to the table with. I'm going to prime my eyes and set it with a beige eyeshadow, and then we will start talking about the eyeshadows that I've chosen. Here's another thing I'm focusing on this year. I want to pan at least one of these, maybe all the way, or see pan in multiples of them. I have a pretty good dip going in this one down here. So very exciting. Let's talk about the Makeup by Mario palette. I was talking about the Makeup by Mario palette vis-a-vis the Cool Mattes palette that I had from Viseart, and I was just talking about how much I loved that palette. And so I figured in this particular video, when I'm trying to dupe it, I want to use shades that I'm actually fairly certain are in the Cool Mattes palette from Viseart that I have in the Grand Pro 1X. Now, I am missing some shades. They're in here. I use them to set my eyeshadow base. I always set my eyeshadow base, so I don't want to haul this out every time. It's much easier for me to pull out this little thing. Some of the shades in here were definitely in that Cool Mattes palette, and I'm really certain that, like, these 3 grays and the black, and then there's, you know, there's the white too. But I'm just going to build like a little bit of a transition moment because I do have a shimmer shade I want to put on. Oh, also I talked about these smoky palettes from Beauty Bay. This could be also inspired by those. I have quite a few like all matte palettes. I have 2 from Hindash, and then I have this one from Viseart, and then I have a lot of mattes that I've accumulated from Natasha Denona as well. At this juncture, and I think this is like really what I fall into whenever I talk about eyeshadow palettes on my channel and how I'm like not really excited by them. I think a lot of it is mostly to do with the fact that my collection is kind of built out at this point where I could dupe any of them with my own collection. The real handiness, in my opinion, for a color story being put together at this point for where my makeup collection is. And that doesn't mean that your makeup collection has to be in the same place at all. But what it means is that just like an eyeshadow palette has to be a perfect curation of colors that I wouldn't have thought to put together. And the other thing is, like, I have some mattes from Makeup by Mario that I really, really enjoy. However, like, the Viseart mattes have always been my one true love whenever it's come to eyeshadow. I just think they're so absolutely stunning, and I just enjoy using them all the time. And, you know, always having the opportunity to use them is just really fun for me because I love how they work. They're like such a utilitarian eyeshadow, and I know they're super expensive, but I mean, they do have those like mini palettes that they've been doing relatively recently, and I think that those are like a really good place to start if you can afford one of those. These just work the way I want them to. Like, and they give me a soft blend every time. And why risk it by buying an eyeshadow palette? Like, specifically thinking of the Beauty Bay one, I've never tried any of their formulas before. And they also did, I think, such a terrible job curating. They made a palette that had 42 shades in it. And it's like, what do I need a palette with 42 shades in it? Now, you probably are like, Tom, what do you mean? I don't know anything about Beauty Bay's system, but these are magnetic and I can pop them out and move them around. So if I really want to dupe something and put it in my own magnetic palette, I can do that with these. I don't think that the Beauty Bay ones do that. If they do, let me know. And also still, to just have 42 shades of gray as singles is like an excess. As I said in that video, with gray, you only really need so much. All right, and so in reference to the Hyper Glam palette, I talked about how I thought the 5 shades on the bottom were really, really beautiful. And I have a lot of beautiful Natasha Denona shades. These are like older formula, but I really love this sparkly taupe over here. And I'm just gonna put that on the lid to complete this cool toned smoky eye. So I'm going to put on liner and mascara off camera, and then I will be back and we will continue our chat. So yeah, I didn't get any of the irritation from this brown, so I'm not really sure what was going on with the clear one. So I'm going to keep holding on to my candy glazes, but I am going to wipe this off. I'm going to apply something else. The only lip product I talked about in Critical Sass was the lip oils from Guerlain, which I'm not really super interested in a lip oil. I just have to admit to myself that I'm much more lip gloss person, and I have very many beautiful lip glosses. This is Cafe Noisette from Kanki's collection with Finding Ferdinand, the Après Ski collection, and I just figured this would be the perfect cool tone brown. I am looking a little more matte than I would like, so I am going to spray some Fix Plus, and then we'll talk about it. I will say, with very few exceptions, a lot of the stuff I talked about in Critical Sass were, like, not to my taste right now. I'm not saying that makeup isn't exciting to me right now. I'm just a pretty hard sell when it comes to new things. In fact, a lot of the stuff that I'm currently interested in is, like, stuff that's been out for a while. I might be buying Lisa Eldridge's skin tint because I've gotten a good word that it sounds like something I would like. So I might be buying that soon because I haven't used any of like my March budget for makeup. I also have a ton of stuff that is in the testing drawer right now that I'm also focused on. So don't you worry, there's gonna be a roundup of those things. I'm just taking my time with them, but I am playing with them off screen. But I will also be doing, testing some new makeup on my face with y'all very soon. So all that to look forward to. But I really got a thrill doing this look with stuff that I already own. I'm very pleased with the way this turned out. And I think that like cool tone smoky eyes like this can be pretty intimidating to a lot of people. And I also think that that's another reason that you shouldn't maybe buy like smoky toned things. And I only say that because a lot of people already have the tools to do a smoky eye in their makeup collection. Those are probably just the colors they use the least because they're intimidated by them. So I just don't understand how someone who never does a smoky eye is like attracted to that kind of thing, because it's like, you probably are, you know what I mean? I talked about it before whenever I were talking about the Xenon palette being very exciting for a lot of people last year. I'm just saying that, but I'm very pleased with the way this turned out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it inspired you to look at your makeup collection before maybe buying any of the new things that I talked about, or maybe buying new things that I didn't talk about. So that's what I'm here to do. That's what I want to do on my channel. What I really want to do is help you and help myself just be more discerning about the makeup that we're purchasing. Many of the people, especially if you're watching this kind of channel, probably have a larger than usual makeup collection. And it's like, we have the tools already to do the things that a lot of the new makeup is trying to sell us as a new fantasy. So if that kind of content sounds good to you, like unpacking all of that, I would love to have you subscribe. Make sure you like this video, share it with someone that you think might find this kind of content interesting. I'm on Patreon and I also have channel memberships. They're both the same. I just do additional content there. At least one additional video every month, and a podcast with my friend Kaki gets released weekly over there. So you can check that out if you would like. And I think that's really all I have to say. Oh, also, my penis has been in your view this whole time. Clock the penis. Anyway, I'll see you in a video very soon. Remember to follow your hope and you'll find me. Go forth, tits up.